And, I do want to address some of the stuff that you said in that period of trying to figure out validation. You mentioned, sad, depression. And it reminds me of this set that you did, this bit. And I'm not going to fuck it up by trying to say it word for word, but generally the joke was you were kind of walking out late and then you called the suicide hotline. And the joke was
Oh,
that,
that's a
while you're
deep
calling that,
cut.
you
Yeah.
see, yeah, that's a deep cut. And you were, and while you're doing that, you're looking around, like, because obviously the setting is, you're a woman walking around, it's late at night, and you're on the phone with the person. You're like, hold on, somebody's following me. I'm not trying to get murdered. And that was so funny to me because I'm like, it's very dark humor, but it was funny
Yeah.
to me because in that moment you see like, oh shit, like I want to laugh, but I also realized like, oh fuck, like she was going through some shit. And you mentioned that was based based on a true story. So,
Yeah.
however comfortable you are sharing that situation, I would just love to know more about that time in your life and just how you felt.
Yeah, so it's funny that you said the reason I said it was a deep cut is because I've only done that joke once for a mental health podcast. So I'm like
Yeah.
surprised that you found it. So
Hmm.
yeah, I mean, I think that I just like really didn't have an internal sense of like validation, and I think that I'm still kind of working towards that in a sense. It's definitely gotten way better than it was, but I think like when you're seeking validation, especially in comedy when there's so much failure, if you're wanting to be assured that you're good by having a good set, it's just not going to happen because you have more bad sets than you have good sets, especially when you're starting out in comedy. And I would just be broken by that because, I'm kind of a perfectionist too. So even if, I got a decent amount of laughs, but like my last joke didn't hit, I would get really down on myself and be like, oh, I'm not good at this. Other people are so much better. The comparison, that was also another thing that really fucks with you. So yeah, I did struggle with
Hmm.
mental health, anxiety, depression. It's funny that you mentioned the suicide hotline because every time I've called them, something funny has happened. Like one time, the one that you mentioned, and then the other time I was
Yeah.
on the phone with them and I like hit the aux cord and it unplugs out of my car and Maroon 5 is blasting in my car like from the radio, and I was just like, I couldn't hear. And I'm just like, hey, hang on. And I start to panic. And that moment was so silly that I couldn't help but laugh. And the person on the other line is just like, is everything okay back there? And I'm like, yeah, I think I'm better now. Hang up.
Yeah, and I know it's. I think what's great about those jokes was that it was real. Like
Yeah.
it was real shit, but
Hmm.
you were able to see the comedy in it, and that's
Yeah.
why I'm not a comedy head, but I love when comedians can make us think deeper than the joke.
Yeah.
Because to me, I'm like, yo, she's going through some real shit. But the
Uh-huh.
fact that she's able to word it in a way that we feel comfortable laughing at her pain in a
Hmm.
way is like it's talent.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
I
thank you.
do really appreciate you sharing that. And I wanted to also ask, you said that you gotten better, but comedy, like your your whole job is literally validation via laughter.
Hmm.
So how do
Yeah.
you even how have you personally worked on not being too reliant on that, but still having the fortitude to come back and tell jokes every week or how often you do it?
Well, I wish I could say there was some secret formula, but there's not. I also wish I could say I
Mm,
worked on it in therapy and got rid of that external validation need, but I still have it. So I think something that helped for
mm,
me was during the pandemic, I got really into social media and really into other avenues of doing my comedy, like TikTok. And TikTok is great because you can be yourself. Like, that platform is begging for you to be yourself because it's like people will there you'll find your audience no matter what on that platform. So, you can be like a true crime person or like talk about fashion or talk in like a really high pitched voice and that's your only shtick. Like there's this girl that I follow who has 2 million followers just from doing seagull noises that are really spot on. So I felt like I got a lot of validation from that platform because like I would be doing jokes on there and people were liking it and sharing my stuff and it was going viral. And that kind of gave me the courage to be like, okay, you know, I can, even if my stand-up isn't the best every single night, I still have people that think I'm funny. Like somewhere around the world, someone thinks I'm funny and laughed at a video I put out.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's another
Yeah.
reason why having different avenues like screenwriting, acting, podcasting, that really helps out too, because you're not relying on just one thing for your happiness.
And that's a good point because I was actually gonna ask you about TikTok because I know you be doing numbers on there, so shout out to you. But I also wondered, obviously, before you said that, I was wondering.